Hey guys, my name's Alicia, and today we're going to be talking about something really interesting that I haven't heard anyone else talk about. I literally found this out through an Instagram ad. But basically, H&M has launched their own reselling platform in Canada. So yes, the fast fashion empire themselves, H&M, has created their own reselling platform. So I'm basically going to go in depth and talk about all the features of this platform and everything. But just off the top here, I want to say I'm actually pretty impressed by this platform, and I think it does have some competition with Depop and Poshmark. So the platform that they launched is called Rewear, which I personally think is actually a really good and catchy name for it. And it was actually launched on September 7th, so that was only last week. So this is a very, very new platform. Now, firstly, I just wanted to say that don't be fooled. Like, this is not H&M trying to be sustainable. This is definitely a greenwashing tactic, in my opinion. Yes, it is a great option for sustainability, but if H&M really wanted to be more environmentally friendly and more sustainable, they would actually make clothes that were made to last. So in my opinion, this is just H&M's way of getting a piece of that reselling pie, because this just goes to show that, you know, the reselling market has been growing so big that even these big corporations want their hands on it. But if we're looking at this strictly from a business point and not sustainability, I think this is actually a really smart move for H&M. And I think some of the features they're actually providing on this platform are actually really interesting, which we're going to get into. And like I said before, this is only currently available in Canada, which is really interesting. I feel like they're kind of just doing like a little bit of testing to see how it works, but as a Canadian, this is actually pretty nice because, you know, platforms like Poshmark weren't available in Canada until a few years ago. And as we know on Depop, you know, Canadians don't really get the most support there. So for this to be launching strictly in Canada is really nice. So before we actually go into like a whole review of the platform, I'm just going to talk about like the main differences that are really interesting about Rewear. So one of the first interesting points is that they are allowing you to sell all different kinds of brands on this platform, not just H&M, which is nice and honestly makes sense, because if you were only able to sell H&M, I don't think people would really like end up using this platform as much. So I think this was a really smart decision on H&M's part. But if you are reselling H&M, they make it really easy. You just have to type in like a number you can find on the tags, and it'll basically just fill out all the information for you and provide a photo that has already been taken and used on their website. So I think that is actually really interesting, kind of like optimizes it, makes it more easier to sell H&M clothing. Now, the other really interesting thing, and what probably most people are wondering, is H&M going to be taking a fee? So as you might know, as a seller on either Depop or Poshmark, both platforms take a fee. 20% on Poshmark Canada and 10% on Depop Canada, plus a PayPal fee. But H&M Rewear will be taking 15%. So this is really interesting because it's kind of right in the middle of Depop and Poshmark. So they're kind of playing in like the middle ground here. Now, as for payments, this is really interesting too. So similar to Poshmark, they do direct deposit, so you don't have to deal with PayPal or anything. It just goes directly into your bank account after they take their 15%. But what's really interesting, and what I think is really smart on H&M's part, is that instead of getting a direct deposit to your bank account, they actually offer you the option to get that money in an H&M gift card, and they'll actually give you 20% on top of it. So you'll actually technically be getting more money if you choose the H&M gift card. So if you like shop at H&M, this is like a really good incentive and kind of would make more sense for you to choose the gift card option. And obviously for H&M, this is kind of a win-win for them because it kind of forces you to be shopping at their stores. So I think that's pretty smart of them to do. And it's a unique feature that isn't offered on any other apps. Also, guys, as I was reading this article, it explained what H&M stands for, which is Hennies, and Moritz. I had no idea what H&M stood for, so that's just really funny. Not what I was expecting. So now that we have kind of the main unique features out of the way, let's just head to the Rewear website and do like a full in-depth review and kind of like a comparison to existing reselling apps. It's actually technically not an app. I think it's only available on the web right now, which is a little bit annoying, but I'm assuming they will turn this into an app at some point. So as soon as you get to the home page, you have this like nice little thing, welcome to Rewear. Let's close the loop, extend the life cycle of your clothing through Rewear, which like all sounds nice, but once again, like if H&M actually wanted to extend the life of their clothes, they wouldn't make them paper thin and bad quality. But anyways, so if you scroll down, you'll see two options. You can either buy or sell. So let's just do it from the perspective of a buyer for now. So if we hit buy, you then have 3 different categories: women's, men's, kids, and baby. Let's just go into women's, and then right away it's just going to show you view all, so it's just going to like give you a general look at everything. As you can see, it looks like a lot of the photos are stock photos from their original website, but if you scroll a little bit further, you start to see other brands pop up. So let's just click on one of the listings just to take a look. One thing you also might notice right away is that there are no backgrounds on any of these photos. So the app actually does this automatically to the first photo in your listing, and I think they want to do this to make everything look more uniform and kind of give the person like a typical shopping experience as if they were shopping just on the normal H&M website, because as you can see, the next photos do have a background. So this is kind of good, I guess, because I know a lot of sellers kind of do this with their photos anyway. They prefer it to look that way, but in my opinion, this really takes away like the uniqueness and kind of the whole, you know, store and seller aspect that you kind of see more on Depop and Poshmark. It just really takes away all the personality from it. So as a buyer, that might be more interesting, but as a seller, I'm not really into that. Like, I like to have fun with my photos and like, I don't know, give it that like specific touch, and I think that actually does add a lot of value to certain shops. So this is kind of taking that away. That's more just my opinion though. So as you can see on the listing, very simple layout. I actually really like it. It tells you the brand, the title of the item, price, size, and then there's a little bit of a description, tells you the condition, color, original price, materials, and fit. So that's kind of interesting. So this is actually pretty similar to both Depop and Poshmark, I'd say, especially how Poshmark shows you the original price as well. And then if you scroll down, you will actually eventually see the seller. So it's a little bit hidden, not like Depop and Poshmark where it's more obvious right away who the seller is. So once again, they're kind of erasing that a little bit. Now, something else you might notice that's very interesting is you can actually send the seller a message. So this is a really interesting choice on H&M's part to allow direct messaging, because if you don't know, direct messaging is a feature on Depop but not on Poshmark. And I personally really liked direct messaging because it kind of gives you like a more personal connection and you can kind of like solve issues or questions a lot easier with that. But it does lead to a lot more scamming and fraud. So I'm wondering how H&M's gonna kind of like deal with that aspect. Now, the one thing I will say that I'm noticing too right away is there isn't really a search function from what I can see. You know, you can add filters, typical ones. You can sort by like the type of item, but I really don't see a search function, which is kind of essential when you're looking for something really specific, especially by brand. So I'm wondering if this is something they'll eventually add. But if you do go into filters, it is all the typical stuff like brand, price, color, size, condition. But what is different is you can actually search by province, which you might be wondering, why would I want to do that? We're going to get into that in a second. So far I am liking the simplicity and the layout of it. What I don't like is it's kind of really making everything look really uniform, and it's really taking away like the personality of the shops and the pictures and all that. That's just my opinion. So let's kind of switch over and look at this from more of a selling perspective, which of course I'm more interested in. So this is what the listing page looks like. So pretty simple. First, they're going to ask us what the brand is, though obviously they have all the different options. As they said, they support, you know, all brands on this platform. Then it lets you continue on to the next kind of section. So now it wants you to do categories. So category 1, this is very, very similar to Poshmark, and Depop has kind of recently added these features as well. So we're going to start with woman category, and then from here you can sort it into like dresses, tops, shirts, you know, all that. Then we can put in the title, the original price, like I said, very similar to Poshmark. The size, it gives you all the options here. Condition, which is a really useful feature that both Depop and Poshmark have recently implemented. So I feel like it's clear that Rewear has really took inspiration from those other apps. What is kind of new here is the primary material. So that's actually pretty interesting. Color, typical. And then it lets you put in additional materials. So that is a pretty unique feature for this app. So then we can go ahead, write the description. And another unique feature here is you can tell the fit. So that's also interesting as well, and like something that people usually typically would like to know It's usually something that I include in the description, but it's interesting that they have like a whole separate spot for it. So if we hit save and continue, then it allows us to upload our photos. I believe it requires you to upload at least 4 photos, but you can add more. It looks like you can add up to 10 photos. That is the maximum, so minimum of 4 up to 10. But there's no option to add a video, which both Depop and Poshmark do support videos. And this is where it gets interesting. So it has shipping options. So you actually have 2 options for shipping. You can do free shipping, and with this option, you will have to do shipping all by yourself. So they will not provide you with a shipping label. You're gonna have to do all of that yourself, which is how Depop works basically, in Canada at least. But the second option is automatic shipping. So it says the seller will receive a shipping label via email when the item has been sold. So this is very similar to Poshmark, where as soon as you make a sale, you automatically get the shipping label. So I actually think it's really interesting that you actually have the option to do either. And this is something I'm actually really impressed with, because I think it is pretty important to have both options, because, you know, people have different reasons for whether or not they would want to go for each option. But I think this is really cool, and currently in Canada there's no app that lets you do both. Now, it doesn't give you a whole lot of information, so I actually emailed H&M Rewear and asked them a few questions. They actually got back to me quite quickly, but essentially I was asking who is the shipping provider, because this was not stated anywhere. And I was curious, how heavy can the item be that can be shipped? Because if you know, with Poshmark, there is a certain weight capacity with the prepaid shipping labels that you cannot exceed. And they actually got back to me and said, we generate all of our shipping labels with Canada Post, which is what I thought. And the maximum weight for all parcels shipped with Canada Post is 30 kilograms. Which, now that I look at it, I'm not sure if they mean that that's the maximum for the prepaid shipping labels. I'm not sure. But anyways, this is interesting too. It says you will not be able to change your selection at a later stage. So you kind of have to like make this decision now if you want to do free shipping or automatic shipping. Next section is where you can list your price, and what I love about this is it automatically tells you your earnings. So this is a feature that Poshmark has, where whenever you decide what price you want to sell it for, Poshmark is going to tell you exactly how much you're going to make after all of the fees and everything. It does give a suggested price, which is also a Poshmark feature depending on the brand and all that. So right now I just put in like $11, and it tells you my earnings would be $9.35 if I direct deposit to my bank, or $11.22 with the H&M gift card. So I could see how that would be tempting, like a couple extra bucks if you shop at H&M. I do think that's a really smart move on their part. And then lastly, you do need to provide your banking information so they can send you that direct deposit. So pretty simple listing layout, pretty similar to Depop and Poshmark. I'm not a huge fan of how there's like all these different sections. I don't know, it'd be nice if it's just one page, but I think it's honestly pretty good actually. Now, the one question I was still asking myself is, okay, they provide an automatic shipping label, so does this mean that there is going to be a flat shipping rate across all of Canada? Because on Poshmark, if you guys don't know, no matter where you live or where you're shipping to, shipping costs about $13 no matter what you buy on Poshmark, and then they'll ship it anywhere in Canada. So I was curious, like, is that going to be the same in this case, since they are doing automatic shipping labels? And it is not actually the case. Depending on what province you're shipping that item to, the buyer is going to have to pay more money. So it's going to be different depending on every item they buy. So for example, I have these H&M ankle boots in my cart, so let's just pretend to check out here. But as you can see, this seller is actually located in BC, which is quite a ways away. So if I paid shipping for this item, it would end up being $26.51. So that's obviously really expensive, especially for brands like H&M that are already so cheap. You can't really justify paying more for shipping than the actual item. And I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, I've shipped hundreds of packages, and if I were to ship these ankle boots to BC, it would not cost me $26. It would probably be closer to $20. So shipping on Rewear is pricey. So I was really excited about that automatic shipping label, but if it's not a flat rate across Canada, I think it's gonna be really hard for these buyers to justify paying these prices. So now if we go back to this filter option and filter by province, this makes a lot more sense, because if you're only looking at items in your own province, shipping's gonna be cheaper generally. So let's take a look at this item. It's just a dress, and this would be shipping from Toronto, so super close to me. So shipping for this dress would be $13.64, so cheaper than shipping to BC, but still a little bit expensive in my opinion. If I were to ship out this dress, I feel like it would be closer to $12. I know that's not a huge difference, but still cheaper nonetheless. So I'm wondering if it's because since you don't have to input the weight of these items, I'm wondering if they're really just like pushing it to the maximum weight and dimensions and all that, so that you can basically end up shipping anything. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty disappointed by this because I was super excited to see that, you know, there was the automatic shipping label option, which saves you a ton of time, but I'm not sure how useful this is actually going to be unless, you know, it's only people from your province that are going to be buying from you. And obviously that really shrinks your potential buyers, especially because if you go to the H&M website and buy something brand new, shipping's only $7.99, so it doesn't really make any sense. But overall, I think I'm actually quite impressed by Rewear. I think it actually has a chance of being a pretty good competitor. But of course, even if you have, you know, the right platform and the right features, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be successful. There's a lot more to it, you know, building a community and like marketing and all that. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how H&M Rewear does. But if you guys are curious how this app holds up against others such as Depop and Poshmark, I am actually going to end up listing a few items on Rewear and we're gonna see if they sell. So if you guys are interested in seeing how it performs, definitely subscribe because every month I make a video where I talk about the things I've sold, and if I do end up selling something on H&M Rewear, it will definitely be included in that video. So definitely stick around, subscribe if you are interested in that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Rewear by H&M. Like I said, even if it is performative, it is still technically a step in the right direction. But definitely let me know your thoughts below. Like, is this a platform you guys would actually consider using, both as a buyer and a seller? If you guys wanted to check me out on either Depop, Poshmark, or Instagram, everything will be linked below. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.